Hello, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting into order and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I know it seems a little unorthodox to start at 3 p.m., but we know that we have a swift agenda today. We have one short presentation and then our work session, of course, in addition to public comment that will occur at the beginning and the end of our meeting today. So with that, I would first like to congratulate Vice Chair Scheibel on her recent nuptials. She is a newlywed. Yes, we're applauding. As of what, 1 week? Almost 1 week.
No, not even a week.
Yeah. Not even a week. She's been married less than a week and is already back to state business. So congratulations on that. And with that, Ms. Jacobson, will you please take the roll?
Senator Harris?
Here.
Senator Krasner?
Here.
Senator Scheibel?
Here.
Assemblywoman Gallant?
Here.
Assemblywoman Gonzalez?
Here.
Assemblyman Gray?
Here.
Assemblywoman Marzola?
Present.
And Chair Miller.
Here. And with that, everyone is present. So just a few housekeeping items. We ask that those of you that are participating on Zoom, please make sure that your cameras stay on so that we know that we always have quorum. Also, just to remind everyone that committee members will be using electronics. Please don't take that as a sign of anything except for paying attention to everything that's going on the computer. And of course, asking that everyone turns off any type of electronics that has any alerts or that could make any noise. When possible, the materials for today's meeting are provided electronically. Anyone who would like to access our meeting materials may find them on the committee's webpage or by contacting the research division. Anyone who would like to receive electronic notification of and access to the committee's agendas, minutes, and final report can also do so by signing up on the Nevada Legislature's website. The first item for today is public comment. Again, we ask that people please try to keep your comments brief and to around 2 minutes. We will have public comment at the beginning and at the end. You may provide public comment here in person in Las Vegas, or if there's anyone there in Carson City, or on the telephone by calling 1-888-475-4499. When prompted for a meeting ID, please enter 881-0098-8203 and then press pound. Broadcast and production services staff will indicate when it is your turn to speak. So with that, I would like to open up public comment. Is there anyone here in Las Vegas that would like to make public comment? If you would like to, please approach. And then also, if there's anyone there in Carson City that would like to make public comment, please feel free to fill those chairs and we'll move to you next.
Hello, good afternoon, members of this committee. My name is Mark Bettencourt, M-A-R-K-B-E-T-T-E-N-C-O-U-R-T. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Coalition Against the Death Penalty. And I'm simply here today to implore the members of this committee and next year's Nevada Legislature to support repealing Nevada's death penalty. It is cruel, it is capricious, and it is costly. From our conversations with murder victim family members, we know that this process extends the trauma for these individuals and these victims of crime. As an individual who is a murder victim family member in an unsolved murder case, there are better resources, or there are better uses of our resources as a state than a sentence and a program that we know provides no discernible benefit to our state. We know it does not deter murder. We know it does not deter violent crime. In jurisdictions that have the death penalty, there are higher rates of crime and violence than in jurisdictions that do not have the death penalty. So again, I implore this body and next year's sitting members of the legislature to consider repealing the death penalty in Nevada. It is time to make some common sense moves and to move away from a program that we know has failed us and continues to fail our citizens and targets the most vulnerable in our communities. We know that places like Clark County, over 70% of the people that have the death penalty sought against them are people of color. And that is when we have a state population of individuals that are Black that comprise roughly 10% of the state's population. This is unacceptable, and we must address this. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else here in Las Vegas, we'll go up to Carson City.
Good afternoon.
Oh, can you turn your mic? Yes, please turn your microphone on or reach for it. There you go.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller, members of the committee. We are asking that on the agenda item F, sentencing number 1, to create a second look. We are asking that you please pass this recommendation. If we are going to sentence these individuals, we need to base it on the research and studies that have been done on the brain. It doesn't fully develop and mature until around the age of 25 years of age. I believe that when we look back on our own lives, when we were under the age of 25, we can honestly say that, what was I thinking back then? I know that I'm not the same person I was 40 or 50 years ago, and neither are most people. I say give these individuals a second look at having their cases reviewed. And I would also like to state, too, that she's down in Vegas, or maybe she's on the line. Her name is Rosie Falcone. She wanted to know what she could do to help get this going, and she asked if she could put a petition together. And so we said it was a great idea. So we want to give her credit on this petition. It was her idea, and we put the language together. Actually, Ned put the language together, and I'll let him speak to that. Thank you. Oh, one other thing. Repeal the death penalty. Thank you. We can't have any more innocent people being executed.
Good afternoon. My name is Ned Reed. I'm the Vice President of the Advocates for the Inmates and the Innocent. Tanya Brown is the president, and we're supporting the second look legislation under item F, and part of that is to support proposed legislation for emerging adults, and that's what the petition is all about. And we submit that it is extremely important to take into account that a person under 25 does not have the brain development to be fully responsible for his actions and should be given a break as far as the sentencing is concerned. And I would also like to mention that on this petition for the emerging adult legislation which is part of the second look legislation, that we have over 960 signatures on this petition right now, and it is growing every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City? Oh, please proceed.
Good afternoon. Happy Labor Day weekend. Pleasure to see all of you. For the record, my name is Brooke Maylath. That's Brooke Maylath. And to the committee, if you may remember, I was here last month being able to talk to you about the lack of any accomplishment of the requirement to revise the regulations within the Department of Corrections for transgender prisoners. And to date, we are now 9 months after the implementation was supposed to have taken place according to statute, and no action has been taken. I would be grateful for a little prompting of the director to let's get this done, so I'm not making the same comment again at the beginning of the legislative session in February. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, all of you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to make public comment? Not seeing any. We will, broadcasting, please open the phones.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to participate in public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Anne Marie Grant, ANNEMARIEGRANT, advocates for the inmates and the innocent. I would just like to echo my colleagues' statements about supporting the second look legislation. And I also support repealing the death penalty. And now I would like to speak as a private citizen. As many know, my brother was asphyxiated, murdered by the Washoe County deputies, asphyxiated during a mental health crisis. I was very disheartened to see that there is no any BDRs being used to get any type of oversight of the county jails. There have been 2 community members who died at the Washoe County Jail within the last 2 months. I don't believe they've released their cause of death. So that was disappointing to see that there still will continue to be deaths at the jail, avoidable deaths, and that they will continue to operate with impunity and without any oversight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
There are no further callers wishing to offer public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder to everyone, we will have another opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting. With that, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the meeting on May 31st, 2004. Committee members, I trust that you have all taken the opportunity to review the minutes. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? So move. I have a motion by Assemblywoman Marzola. Do I have a second? I have a second by Assemblywoman Gonzalez. With that, is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I see you. Okay, thank you. And I saw your hand, Assemblyman Gray. Thank you. So I'll take that as an aye. With that, it is unanimous. So the minutes for the meeting on May 31st are approved. Thank you, members. Our next agenda item is we will have a brief update on the Office of the Ombudsman for offenders established from the Assembly Bill 452 in the last session, the last legislative session, 2023. We have Director James Zarenda from the Director from the Department of Corrections.
Hey, good afternoon, Assemblywoman Miller and committee. A little update for you is I'll go back to February. The Board of Prisons Commission approved 5 members, identification of members to be oversight or do the interviews of the RFP process that was put out for the Corrections Ombudsman. It was decided that a representative from an advocacy organization in Nevada was one of the members. A representative from the Department of Health and Human Services, Aging and Disability Services Division of the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program was a representative from the Department of Corrections Offender Management, a representative from the Office of the Inspector General, and a representative from the Attorney General's office that is not involved with any representation from Department of Corrections. So the RFP did get put out, and the interviews and all the screening of those that submitted for a recommendation was a organization or a consulting firm called SABAT, S-A-B-A-T. They are actually the award winner of the RFP for the Ombudsman. The contract was sent to the purchasing division for the state, which was approved, and the Attorney General's office, and is scheduled to be at the next Board of Examiners meeting on October 2nd. Once it's approved through the Board of Examiners, then the official ombudsman for the Department of Correction would be in place.
Thank you, Director. Members, are there any questions? Okay, not seeing any questions. Thank you for your update, Director. With that, we will move on to our work session. And just a few notes that I would like to make about a work session so everyone has a much better understanding of what's going to happen. The work session document first is posted on the committee's meeting webpage. And this work session document assists us in determining which legislative measures to request for the upcoming 2025 regular Nevada legislative session. The document contains a summary of recommendations presented during public hearings or submitted through the solicitation of recommendations. And while this meeting marks the end of our legislative interim, our commitment to addressing the critical issues facing our state remains. I want to emphasize that the recommendations included in this document were carefully chosen to reflect the topics that were discussed during the committee that also fall within the committee's jurisdiction, financial feasibility, and of course the bipartisanship nature of the issue and this committee. Our goal was to create a balanced and comprehensive document to address the issues presented in the committee throughout the interim. By selecting recommendations based on this criteria, we aim to foster a constructive and productive legislative session. I want to thank all of the participants, all of the stakeholders and presenters, and everyone else for their valuable contributions during this interim. Together, we have addressed a wide variety of topics, and I look forward to continuing this work in the future. Please understand that there were also multiple submissions that were considered by Vice Chair Scheibel and myself when it came to which items would appear for the work session. Also, please understand that if an issue is not taken up today with a request for a proposal for it to become a bill, that does not mean that that issue is dead. It just means that there will not be a bill created that the committees would be presenting. But of course, stakeholders, everyone has the opportunity and the ability and still the time to approach individual legislators with those issues, and any individual legislator can determine if they want to submit that bill draft request. So please don't take it as any indication that something would not be supported in the future. Also, please don't take today's vote. What we're voting on is we're not voting on the issues, we're voting on the process to enable a bill draft to be drafted. Anything that is voted on today that becomes a BDR still has to go through the full legislative process once we get to session. So that means it has to pass out of committee, and then that prospective house, and then off the floor, and then do it again in the second house, and then potentially onto the governor. So again, today we're literally just voting on, can we create this bill? Again, voting today does not indicate someone's future support during the regular legislative session. Vice Chair Scheibel, would you like to add anything?
Thank you so much, Chair. I think you did cover everything I was going to say. Just to reiterate that there are numerous ways that a bill comes to fruition at the legislative session. We have the bills that come out of the interim from each committee. We have the bills that come from each individual member. And then we also have the bills that come from each committee. So the Assembly Committee on the Judiciary, the Senate Committee on the Judiciary will both have our own bill draft requests coming in front of the full legislature come February. And so I also would be happy to speak with anybody who gave us a suggestion that is not included in this work session document. I wish we'd had time to reach out to everybody and discuss each and every recommendation before we had to put together the work session document. But that's just not the nature of the interim. However, we do have more time before we go back to session in February. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about whether a recommendation wasn't included because there were actually concerns about it, or whether it's already being picked up by somebody else, or whether we're going to point you in the direction of a legislator who'd be interested in it, or maybe one of our committees is going to pick it up. So we were lucky. We had a lot of really good suggestions this interim, and we simply couldn't, we don't have the statutory capacity to take on all of them as an interim committee. So I look forward to our discussions about the ones that we have included in the work session document today. And of course, this is the first part of the process where we vote on whether or not we're going to request a bill draft request. It doesn't mean that we have to have all of the details figured out about a proposal. It just means that it's an issue that we're choosing to move forward in solving.
Thank you so much for those comments, Vice Chair. So with that, I will turn it over to our committee policy analyst, Ms. Thornton, who will walk us through the process of the bill draft request. And I'm just going to turn it right on over to you right now. Yes. So what we're going to do is, because under this committee, we also have a number of bills that we're designated for juvenile justice as well, which is separate from our other 10 bills possibilities. So with that, we are going to do what's called a consent agenda, meaning Ms. Thornton will discuss all of the proposals under the juvenile justice, and we will take one vote. And then once we do that vote, we will move on and go through each one individually.
Thank you, Chair. Diane Thornton, Deputy Director, Research Division with the Legislative Council Bureau. As nonpartisan staff, I'm not here to advocate for issues, but to assist members with policy issues that are brought before this committee. As the Chair mentioned, pursuant to NRS 218D 1.160, the committee is allocated 15 legislative measures. 10 must relate to judiciary generally, and 5 must relate to juvenile justice issues. These may include both bill draft requests and requests for drafting resolutions. The committee may also vote to send as many letters or recommendations or support as it chooses, and also to include statements in the final report. The first legislative measure for consideration under juvenile justice is to request the drafting of a bill to revise provisions in Title V, which is Juvenile Justice of NRS, to ensure consistent treatment of a delinquent child who is committed to a regional facility for the treatment and rehabilitation of children, and a delinquent child who is committed to the custody of a state or local facility for the detention of a child, by providing that before the juvenile court commits a delinquent child to a regional facility for the treatment and rehabilitation of children, the juvenile court must make the same findings as are required for committing a delinquent child to a state facility for the detention of children. And secondly, revising the Juvenile Justice Bill of Rights, which is NRS 62B through 500 through 62B.530, to provide a child who is committed to a regional facility for the treatment and rehabilitation of children with the same rights as a child who is detained in a detention facility. Secondly, the BDR would prescribe the procedure for revoking the probation of a child to the extent practical, base this procedure on existing provisions relating to the suspension, modification, or revocation of the parole of a child. Third, it would improve the consistency throughout Chapter 62A to provide that youth who are on either probation or parole are afforded the same due process. It would amend 62E.710 to adopt the same procedures outlined in NRS 63.770, thereby providing a consistent application of the law. Fourth, it would amend Chapter 62E of NRS regarding setting probation term lengths for most delinquency cases, which would involve removing the following language from subsection 3A of NRS 62E.708, which is for each unlawful act. Next, it would revise NRS 62E.708 to add specific language clarifying that a term of probation can be terminated if a child owes restitution. However, the restitution order itself is not vacated. Fifth, we would require the superintendent or director of each institution of each facility to adopt a policy setting forth standards of conduct for unclosed searches of youth at local detention facilities, regional facilities for the treatment and rehabilitation of children, and state facilities for the detention of children. Number 6, we would eliminate the requirement that the district attorney must give written approval for the placement of a child under informal supervision. 7th, we would amend NRS 62B.337 to address the jurisdictional issue outlined in Zill versus State, the decision from the Nevada Supreme Court. And that is the last juvenile justice BDR, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Senator Krasner?
Thank you, Chair. I have a question. In one of the BDR proposals that was just read, changing the process to commit a child. What is the process now to commit a child, please? And how will it differ? Thank you.
Yes, we will have legal respond to you.
Thank you.
Chair, will you give me just 1 second to pull up the statute?
Yes, please.
Okay. Carly O'Krent for the record. Senator Krasner, the specific requirements regarding committing a child that you're looking for can be found in NRS 62E505, which requires the court to make certain specific findings before the child is committed to a state facility for the detention of children. So the court must find that appropriate alternatives that could satisfactorily meet the needs of the child do not exist in the community or were previously used to attempt to meet such needs and proved unsuccessful. And the child poses a public safety risk based on the child's risk of reoffending as determined by the risk assessment that's conducted pursuant to NRS 62E506, any history of delinquency and the seriousness of the offense committed by the child.
And how will this proposal change that, please?
This proposal will require the juvenile court to make the same findings in the event that it's committing a child to a regional facility for the treatment and rehabilitation of children. So the existing provision applies to the detention of children in different sorts of facilities. This will apply it to that sort of facility.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Any other questions, members? Okay, not seeing any, I will take a motion to approve the recommendation.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Scheibel. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. With that, is there any further discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Oh. So I have Senator Krasner, Assemblyman Gray, I believe I saw your hand as a yes. Thank you. And Assemblywoman Gallant, have you voted yet?
I did. I said aye.
Okay, thank
Like
you.
yes.
Perfect, thank you. With that, the consent agenda motion passes for all 5 juvenile justice bills. Thank you, members. Ms. Thornton will then take us through the individual recommendations for the general judiciary.
Thank you, Chair. We're back on page 1 with the recommendation for the criminal justice system. This first one is requesting the drafting of a bill to authorize the use of certified facility dogs in certain proceedings and prescribe the requirements relating to the use of such dogs. This recommendation was proposed by Lieutenant Browett, Community Service Division, Reno Police Department at the July 26th meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Members, any questions? All right, not seeing any. I'll take a motion to approve the recommendation. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Gonzalez and a second from Assemblywoman Marzola. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I see all three of our members that are voting virtually as an aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair. The second recommendation is dealing with corrections, and this one is to request the drafting of a bill to require the Director of the Nevada Department of Corrections to discharge certain medical debt owed by an offender to the department when an offender is released from prison. This recommendation was developed by the Chair and Vice Chair in response to testimony provided by Nick Shepak, Nevada State Director of Fines and Fees, Justice Center, and Jody Hawking, Founder and Executive Director of Return Strong, on the August 6th meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions, members? Not seeing any questions, I will entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, Chair, I have a question.
Oh, okay, Senator, please proceed. Senator, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does the wiping away of the money owed by an offender when released by prison also include wiping away any restitution owed in this proposal, please?
No, Senator, the proposal that is for, it's limited to medical bills, but not to restitution. That's something that's separate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is just for the medical. Thank you. Any other questions, members? Okay, I don't see
I just want to
any.
state that I have some I just want to say I have concerns about what the fiscal ramifications of this, but I am going to vote yes with reservation.
Okay. Assemblyman Gray, did you have a question or comment?
I'm gonna go no on this one with reservations to change my vote later on as well.
Okay, and again, just to remind everyone, we're literally just voting for it to become a bill. Obviously, things look different once it becomes a bill and it goes through the full process. So with that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so I'm trying to pay attention to everyone virtually. We have a no from Assemblyman Gray. Senator Krasner, what is your vote?
Yes, aye. Yes.
Aye, okay. Assemblywoman Gallant, what is your vote?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so we have one nay and the motion passes. Thank you. Ms.
I
Thornton?
think we have delay in terms of when we're talking compared to when you're hearing today. So apologies for that.
It's possible, and remember, in this new building, we're all just, still kind of working out the little bugs and stuff like that. So we're getting adjusted as well. So, but we'll make it happen. Thank you, Assemblywoman. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair. The first recommendation for domestic violence is requesting the drafting of a bill to amend the law to allow direct billing to the state instead of the county for forensic medical examinations. Recommendation was proposed by Liz Ortenberger, Chief Executive Officer, Safe Nest, at the January 19th and April 26th meetings.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any questions, I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so I have a motion from Assemblywoman Gonzalez and a second by Senator Krasner. Members, any further discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair. The second recommendation under domestic violence is amending existing provisions to require the regulations adopted pursuant to subsection 2 of NRS 439.258 to include provisions requiring an organization that operates a batterers treatment program to ensure that the curriculum used in the program is evidence-based. This was proposed by Liz Ortenberger, Chief Executive Officer at Safe Nest, at the January 19th and April 26th meeting.
Members, any questions? I should have said members, any visitors? Nice seeing you, son. So,
Sorry.
no worries. Not seeing any questions, I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation.
Motion.
Okay, so I have a motion from Assemblywoman Gonzalez and a second from Assemblyman Gray. Members, are there any further discussion? Not seeing any? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and with that, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, the third recommendation under domestic violence is revise NRS 179A.075 to require each agency of a criminal justice and any other agency dealing with crime to submit the information required by the Department of Public Safety in accordance with the policies, procedures, and definitions of the National Incident-Based Reporting System rather than the Uniform Crime Reporting Program. This recommendation was proposed by Serena Evans, Policy Director at the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence at the April 26th meeting.
Any questions, members? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion for the recommendation. I have a motion. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Marzola and a second from Assemblyman Gray. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone? All right, thank you. And with that, the motion passes unanimously. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair. The fourth recommendation under domestic violence is provide that a nurse who performs a strangulation exam or sexual assault nurse examiner exam in good faith and without malicious intent or gross negligence is immune from civil liability for any act or omission related to the examination. This recommendation was developed by Chair Miller and Vice Chair Scheibel in response to testimony provided by Safe Nest at the April 26th meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Any discussion, members, or any questions I should ask first? Not seeing any. I will entertain a motion for the recommendation. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Marzola and a second from Assemblyman Gray. With that, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously. Ms. Thornton?
We are moving on to page 6 under human trafficking. And the first recommendation under this is to request the drafting of a letter to the Governor, Senate Committee on Finance, and the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means of the 2025 legislative session to encourage support for funding data collection via State Human Trafficking Management Information System. The second one is to the Governor, to the Senate Committee on Finance and the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means of the 2025 legislative session to encourage support for funding of the receiving centers created in Senate Bill 274 from the 2021 session to address critical shelter and housing needs for youth and adults. This recommendation was developed by Chair Miller, Vice Chair Scheibel, in response to testimony provided by Lauren Boytel, co-founder of the Nevada Policy Council on Human Trafficking, from the April 26th meeting.
Thank you. Are there any questions, members? Not seeing any questions, I will entertain a motion for the recommendation. I have a motion from Vice Chair Scheibel. Do I have a second? A second from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. I will start with the opportunity to have discussion on this motion. Actually, I won't. Maybe I'll wait until we finish vote. Anyone else like to have any discussion on the motion? All right, not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And all three of our members attending virtually have voted aye. So with that, the motion passes unanimously. I would just like to say, because one thing I forgot to add before is that the recommendations we're voting on are not all to turn everything into a bill draft request. Some of the recommendations are to send letters of request or letters of support to other agencies or departments in order to, because sometimes things are already enacted in law, but we just need to send our support or request. So that's why you may hear a letter or a memo and not just always a bill draft request. I thought that should be clarified. Ms. Thornton, the next one, please.
Thank you, Chair. The next one is sentencing, and this is a request for drafting of a bill to create a second look sentencing law, allowing the courts or other sentencing review boards to reevaluate a person's sentence after a significant period of time in prison and determine if that sentence is still necessary. This recommendation was proposed by Daniel Landsman, Vice President of Policy and Families Against Mandatory Minimum, at the February 23rd meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Vice Chair Scheibel. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, with that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, let me ask again. Senator Krasner, were you in the aye vote?
Aye.
I thought so. Not sure if we're having delay. Assemblywoman Gallant, are you an aye?
Yes.
Yes. Assemblyman Gray?
Nay.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we have one nay. The motion passes. Ms. Thornton?
The next recommendation is under the topic with state public defenders and indigent defense. We would request the drafting of a bill to allow an alternate public defender that may enter into contracts with attorneys to cover cases where the Nevada State Public Defender has a conflict, and a post-conviction attorney to handle post-convictions in-house rather than by hourly appointed counsel. This recommendation was proposed by Marcy Riva, Executive Director, Department of Indigent Defense Services, at the February 23rd meeting.
Any questions? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Scheibel. Is there a second? Second from
Second.
Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Any further discussion on the motion? Yes, Vice Chair Scheibel.
Thank you. I just want to emphasize how important this is because I recently became a contract attorney for the State Public Defender's Office, and there are dozens of cases every single day where people are lacking appointed counsel, especially in rural areas. And when there are not enough private attorneys who are willing and able to take on those cases, those people just wait for attorneys to be appointed. So it really is an emergency at this point. So anything we can do to get people counsel faster, we absolutely have to do. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Oh, okay, thank you. I see all three ayes from our members participating virtually. With that, the motion passes unanimously.
The next recommendation is a request the drafting of a bill to allow a deputy state public defender employed by the state public defender's office to maintain a private workload by removing the prohibition in subsection 2 of NRS 180.030.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any questions, I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Scheibel and a second from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Is there any further discussion? Vice Chair Scheibel, that's why I was looking at you.
I'm going to keep beating the indigent defense funding drum because this also is not something crazy. We're talking about people who maybe can't make a living just by representing indigent clients. Think about some of our more rural communities where there might only be one attorney in town or 3 attorneys in town. And if you have a domestic violence case where one of those attorneys has already represented one of the parties, then you're looking at a pool of 2 people who are available to represent the person who is currently being accused of a crime. And so those people need to be able to also do other things like assist with personal injury cases or handle disputes between neighbors or handle the TPO for that victim in a domestic violence case if they're representing them in an unrelated criminal case. So again, anything we can do to get people appointed counsel faster. This is not going to change any of the ethical rules regarding conflicts in representation. It just would allow people to have, to be able to represent indigent clients and continue to make a living practicing law wherever they already practice.
Can I
Any
ask a
additional
question? Sorry. Okay.
Assemblywoman, Assemblywoman, we're actually on the portion right now where it's a discussion on the motion, not a question so much on the actual policy.
Okay. Never mind.
All right, thank you. With that, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the motion passes unanimously. Ms. Thornton?
The next recommendation is under traffic citations. The first one is to remove language from NRS 484B.830 and NRS 484B.833, which set a defined time frame during which law enforcement officers are required to record and retain traffic stop information using the electronic traffic citation system. Secondly, it would revise the reporting requirement prescribed by NRS 484B.830 sub 4 and 484B.833 sub 4 to additionally require each law enforcement agency to annually report the information recorded for the previous calendar year to the Joint Interim Judiciary Committee. Thank you, Chair.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation. There's a motion from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Is there a second? A second from Senator Harris. With that, is there any further discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick question?
Assemblyman, we're at the discussion on the motion. Do you have a question about the policy or the?
I do.
Is that what you? Okay, yes, we're at the discussion portion for that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, and the motion passes unanimously. Ms. Thornton?
The next recommendation is to request the drafting of a letter to the governor, to the Senate Finance Committee and Ways and Means of the Assembly for the 2025 legislative session, encouraging the support of additional sources of funding for traffic stop data analysis.
Thank you. And I will slow it down a bit to make sure in case there is a delay with the members that are participating virtually. So with that, members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion for the recommendation.
So moved.
There's a motion from Vice Chair Scheibel. Is there a second? Second from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Any further discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And all three of our members voting virtually are in the aye position. So with that, this motion passes unanimously.
The final recommendation under traffic citations is also to draft a letter to the Director of DPS requesting DPS include in the standardized method, which is stipulated in NRS 484B.830, the collection of certain data. And the data is listed of what would be required. And this recommendation was developed by Chair Miller, Vice Chair Scheibel, in response to the testimony provided by the Statistical Transparency of Policing Nevada Data Collection Project at the UNLV. Thank you, Chair.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any questions, I will entertain a motion for the recommendation. There's a motion from Assemblywoman Marzola. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Vice Chair Scheibel. Members, any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 With that, the motion passes unanimously. We are going to redo a vote because apparently I took a vote but never requested a motion. So we basically voted on nothing. So our ghost vote. So with that, yes, Ms. Thornton, will you walk us back through that item?
Thank you, Chair. So staff was informed that, in fact, the motion was not taken, but it was voted on. Those voting in favor was Senator Harris, Senator Krasner, Senator Scheibel, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, Assemblyman Gray voted nay, Assemblywoman Marzola, and Chair Miller. So we need a person that voted on the yay side to make a first and second to reconsider B1, which is corrections, which was requesting the drafting of a bill to require the director of the Nevada Department of Corrections to discharge certain medical debt owed by an offender to the department when an offender is released from prison.
Senator Harris?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider item B1.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to reconsider from Senator Harris and a second from Vice Chair Scheibel. Is there any questions on this motion, members? Any additional discussion? Okay, with that, the motion carries. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair.
No, we're not taking a vote on, wait, did we take a?
We have to reconsider.
Okay, let's take a vote to reconsider the motion to vote for the item that we did not take a motion on. All those in favor? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. With that, the motion passes. Thank you. Ms. Thornton. Reconsider.
Okay.
Now we gotta actually vote. Yeah.
All right, so we are back to page 2 under corrections, requesting the drafting of a bill to require the director of the Nevada Department of Corrections to discharge certain medical debt owed by an offender to the department when an offender is released from prison.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Scheibel. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, with that, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? We have Assemblyman Gray in opposition. With that, the motion passes. Thank you for that. And I believe that was indeed our last motion to vote on, our last recommendation to vote on. So we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. Again, anyone here in Las Vegas that would like to make public comment, please approach. We ask that you keep your comments brief. Those up in Carson City, if you're wishing to make public comment, you may approach the desk right now as well. So we'll start here in Vegas, move to Carson City, and then of course, those that are at home listening, please feel free to dial in.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, these things make me nervous. Hello, y'all. Thank you. I'm here in support of the Second Look legislation. We've been working on this for over a year, doing research with currently incarcerated people to understand who specifically would be impacted by this legislation. We've been meeting with the DA's office. We've been talking to victims of crime. We actually are headed to DC in like 2 weeks with a Crime Survivors Network so that we're able to really just be holistic in our approach to this bill. And we also launched a coalition of partners. So it's Mass Liberation Project, Return Strong, ACLU, NAACP, National Action Network. We're trying to, and we're also working with FAM as well. So just wanted to say that, you know, we're here as community. We definitely want to be a part of getting this passed and working with you all to make sure that it is representative of the people who are actually impacted by it. Thank you.
Could you, we're not sure if you stated your name for the record.
Sorry about that. Leslie Turner, that's Leslie, and then Turner, Turner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, committee members. So good to see y'all again. It's gonna be fun. My name is Yesenia Moyagaray, YESENIA I am here as a community member, here in support for the Second Look at legislation. If y'all see behind me, I would like to ask folks that are here in support to please stand up. We are all wearing red and orange. I got confused. We're all wearing orange here in support. We're a large coalition of various different community members that are justice impacted. We're family members. We are victims of crime. We are folks that have been incarcerated, are incarcerated. And so we are here to work with y'all, like Leslie said. Thank y'all for giving us that opportunity.
Hello, my name is Rosalinda Falcone, Rosalinda Falcone. I am here in support of the recommendation of the Second Look that is being considered by this committee. Individuals 18 to 25 years of age are immature and lack good judgment, even when raised in the best of circumstances. Yet most of these young adults that are currently incarcerated were since birth abused, neglected, and never given proper support. Although we permit individuals to drive at 16 years old and vote at 18 years old, this does not mean that they are mature at those ages. An international study by the National Institute of Mental Health and UCLA Laboratory of Neuroimaging shows that intellectual maturity comes at age 25. The study found that the cortical areas of the brain thicken during childhood and into adolescence. In the frontal cortex, gray matters peak around 12 years old. Then the brain goes through pruning and transmitting information. Research shows this process does not occur in the prefrontal cortex until early 20s or later. The prefrontal cortex coordinates higher order cognitive processing and executive functioning, which controls behavior, planning, memory, strategizing, and impulse control. All these skills work together to allow an individual to pause, evaluate the situation, consider options, plan reactions, and implement a plan. These individuals 25 years of age and under are simply not mature. They have poor executive functioning and difficulty planning and carrying out an appropriate judgment of decision because of the area of the brain responsible for these functions is the last area of the brain to mature. All these factors mean that these men and women who are 25 years and younger do not possess the usual ability to control their risky behaviors and have been given excessive amounts of time to spend in the Nevada Department of Corrections. I reached out to Tanja Brown with advocates for the inmates and the innocents because I wanted to support this extremely worthy legislation and what could I do to make an impact on the committee who would possibly be looking at a second look for future legislation. I asked if a petition would be helpful, and Ms. Brown said that it would be. With help from the advocates for the inmates and the innocents and her organization, we got this petition going and have collected over 960 petitions as of today in such a short period of time. Please pass this recommendation, and again, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. We'll move up to Carson City for public comment.
Tanya Brown, TONJABROWN, Advocates for the Inmates and the Innocent. I just want to diddle what everybody else has been saying about the second look. And we, our organization, will be working with all the organizations. We're going to come together as a whole to work on this together, on this very important subject. It applies very. And also, I would like to let it be known that I will be reaching out with Senator Scheibel and some others, and thank you for the opportunity to allow us to do that on our recommendations that did not make it on the agenda. And we hope that you will consider our recommendation in future bill down the road in 2025 to establish a petition for factual innocence posthumously to allow those whose loved one have been wrongfully convicted, have maintained their innocence, and have passed away prior to being exonerated. It's going to give the families the opportunity to exonerate their loved one's name and closures for everyone, and justice would finally be served. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're all wearing orange down here in case you haven't noticed, but we're all together. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else in Carson City who'd like to make public comment? Not seeing anyone else approach. Broadcasting, would you please open the lines?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and the beautiful, hardworking committee member of Judiciary. This is Dora Martinez. I represent the Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition as well as the Nevada Council of the Blind. So for those of you who don't know me, I am totally blind and I use a service dog. Retired Sarge, my black lab cross golden retriever, and now I have a cherry German shepherd. I'm calling on behalf of ourselves who uses legit, well-trained service dogs from accredited schools for service dogs. My concern is the facility dogs, which is equivalent to emotional support animal, which is not covered under the Americans with Disability Act. I'm not against having facility dogs because I know they have their purpose. But I just want to make sure that they stay in their lane and we stay in our lane. This is why the Department of Transportation has made it harder for people who are visually impaired and low vision to bring their dogs to on the airplane because of bad actors. They would say that this is my service dog. It guides me to the gate, when it really doesn't. A turtle or a cat cannot guide a person to a gate. And sometimes they use dogs and they say it's a service dog and it's not well behaved. So I did hear one of the meetings with the facility dogs with the gentleman that his name was mentioned and I can't recall. I just want to, when this goes through, please reach out to the people who have experience with service dogs to make sure that we do this right from the very beginning. And I know that you guys all do the right thing, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Please go enjoy some ribs at the Rib Cook-Off, and happy Labor Day weekend. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for that. Broadcasting, next caller.
There are no further callers to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. With that, I will go ahead and close public comment. That was the last item on our agenda, but before closing, I would first like to thank my co-chair, Vice Chair Scheibel, and congratulate you again. But it's been really fun chairing with you. It's always fun because this is the opportunity where not just both houses, both houses get to join together for the entire time. So that has been a really good experience. And of course, all the members, thank you so much for all of your tremendous work throughout this interim. I would like to just remind the public that I don't think we realized it at the time when we scheduled this, but yes, your legislators are working, scheduled a meeting at 3 p.m. on the Friday before Labor Day weekend. So just putting that out there. With that, members, are there any final comments or anything? Okay, well, Vice Chair, you don't have anything to?
Just to thank the rest of the committee and all of you for your commitment to forwarding justice in the state of Nevada. And I look forward to what we're going to do next at the next regular session coming up fast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Assemblyman Gray?
Yeah, I was going to pretty much say the same thing. Thanks for a good interim, and we got some good stuff working.
Thank you, Assemblyman. I would also like to thank our committee staff, because again, they're the ones that keep the machine going behind the scenes, and also all of the staff here at LCB. Obviously, it's been a big adjustment on everyone because we have switched buildings. The building is still under construction for those who aren't able to physically be here. And so that's a lot of adjustment on staff, and of course, working out all the the bugs and stuff like that as we proceed and learn how to operate within this new building. And so with that, thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the stakeholders and participants and all of you that tune in and come and present and make public comment and reach out to us individually. It absolutely makes a difference and is the core of the work that we do. So thank you so much. With that, this meeting is adjourned, and we'll see you all in February.